Once and I'm live, coming to you with a part two series called the finishing of black people, the finishing off of black people's extermination, which I did a part one video about just a little earlier tonight. Uh, and now this is the part two series. And as I was thinking about some things after I did the part one series of the finishing off of black people's extermination, you know, I was thinking about a lot of things. Additionally, just to want to add on to what I said in part one concerning this volatile subject of black people being exterminated here in America. Black people who I choose to call the people of soul, who are dark skinned descendants of slaves born in America. You know, well, unfortunately, as I spoke about the incorruption of the so called black leadership in this country pertaining to this issue, I want to expand some more on that as well as some of the other you know in in-house corruption going on among us as a people that's parallelly leading to the point of us being totally exterminated. And you know as I mentioned before about that late pastor down there in Atlanta, who's known, which I couldn't remember off the top of my tongue what his full name was, but Bishop Eddie Long, Pastor Bishop Eddie Long. You know, it's no secret that not only that he supported the LGBT uh, movement, but that he was also himself a homosexual, you know, which even appeared in numerous videos, on social media, as well as the internet. And I mean, this is no secret. In the fact that other leaders who are dark skinned descendants of slaves born in America that is presently still supporting LGBT rights, as well as even getting behind supporting illegal immigrants coming into this country, like I spoke about, or who I spoke about in the other previous part one video. And I mean, it's crazy because you could do this, but you cannot exert that same energy and time and the resources you have, to support your own people. You know what I mean? And it's like this is a travesty. When you even think about so-called black leadership in this country today, as opposed to the black leadership of the 1950s and 60s, where the buck stopped when the true struggle of the civil rights movement ended. And the reason I say true struggles, because what they did during that period of time of the civil rights movement was make gains that effectively brought some sort of limited change, but it did bring change effectively to a short extent for us as dark skinned descendants of slaves born in this country called America. And like I said before, what these so-called black leaders are doing today don't even come close to even that little short extent of success in terms of the gains that the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 60s accomplished. And ever since then, like I say, nothing has effectively in terms of change in this country happened for black people to advance our struggle, especially toward complete liberation from our near 500 years of slave-like condition oppression in this country. And, you know, as I look now and see the effects of that, no matter where I go, as a dark-skinned descendant of a slave born in America, in this country, I see it. And it's clear out, as blue as plain day, that we are in a much more worse situation, in fact, than those among our people of the 1950s and 60s were. And I know many of you may say, how is that? Well, just look at it. Just look at the degenerate behavior, first of all, among our people that wasn't taking place among us during the 1950s and 60s, and even before that time in this country, far as our history is concerned, as people here in the United States. And I mean, look at the violence. Look at the so-called hip hop culture of rap music, which has had a destructive impact on our community that continues to have a negative, destructive impact on our communities as dark-skinned descendants of slaves born in America, along with the crack cocaine and heroin drug culture that also permeates and contributing to the destruction of us as a people in this country. And also, the mass incarceration epidemic that also permeates, in the destruction of us as a civilization, as a group of people who are preferably called the people of soul, who are dark-skinned descendants of slaves born in America. So with that said, I mean, we got to look at it on a whole full blown scale overall across the board, to make sure we don't leave out, no dotted lines or eyes, to really see what's going on with this picture or what's really wrong with us today as a people in this country, which dictates the fact that, again, why we are worse off than we were in the 1950s and 60s of the civil rights generation movement. And like I say, once again, it even definitely reflects, of course, our so-called black leadership, who shares a big responsibility in this madness that's incorruptibly taking place with us as a group of people in this country. So, I mean, when I look at the fact that how our leadership has led us to the head, to further into the burning house, which Martin Luther King Jr. termed it as right before he got assassinated, um, our leaders who did more of a better job by further leading us into the burning house toward the brink of destruction, totally as our existence as a people are concerned, than they've done anything else in regards of our condition as a people in this country. And the facts is written all over the wall. I don't really care. You know, y'all could say that religious leaders like Louis Farrakhan and so forth and on have helped to, reform black lives in this country, whatever. Well, I'm gonna tell you this. They've done that in Christianity and in other forms of religion, as far as our people is concerned in this country. So that means nothing in terms of, you know, how it's affected all of the masses of our people in this country on a common collective basis, and how it has not, in fact, affected the whole masses of our people to where they haven't benefited off the few that you say these religious leaders and their religious teachings have done to reform our people. So, like I said before, that's far of a few in between. That's like Malik, who's also of this platform of Reality Temple Ministry, say that's nothing but totally big type stuff. You know, we want to bring tangible effectiveness where it'll benefit us all as a people and not just a few here and there. And even those that have been unquote reformed, well, if they really truly have been reformed, they will be representing the true example of a real leader that we once knew in the Nation of Islam, who was known as Malcolm X. Because first of all, Malcolm X was really not only reformed, but once he started growing more and becoming more aware of his position and purpose as a leader, even by thinking outside the box in terms of the teachings of the Nation of Islam being concerned, which eventually led to the divide between him and the Nation of Islam, showed how much more reformed he was. Okay? Because he saw that true reformation, do not work by being confined by religion. So to say that, our people have been reformed, well, you know, that's that's just to an extent, long as it's confined by religion. And long as it's confined by religion, that's where you see tunnel vision, the blockage of tunnel vision kicking in to the point where you really can't tell them nothing because they feel like they got the truth and that's it. And that's all they need to hear and know. Instead of them expanding themselves and becoming more of an independent thinker like Malcolm X was able to do. As an example, they remain still, no different than their fellow dark-skinned soul brothers and sisters in Christianity. you know, in terms of tunnel vision blockage, So, like I said before, this all still leads down the same road path parallelly to our uh, to our eventual total extermination as a people. And we have to understand and realize this, that this is serious. And also, too, um, you know, I could testify to this fact because I just not too long ago emancipated myself from a teaching in the so-called Black conscious community that kept me trapped, you know, inside a tunnel vision blockage, and these teachings called Nuwabu or Nuwapian or whatever they call them now, that was passed along as taught by Dr. Malachi Z. York, who is presently incarcerated in a Supermax federal penitentiary out in Florence, Colorado, you know. But anyway, you know, I had to emancipate myself eventually from those teachings because at the end of the day, I saw that those teachings not only wasn't getting me nowhere as a dark-skinned descendant of slaves born in America, but that they really have not effectively gotten any other followers of those teachings anywhere other than still being stuck, within a tunnel vision blockage. So, like I said, that go for even those again in the Nation of Islam and other so-called Black conscious groups like the Moorish Science Temple of America, uh, the RGB community, the new Black Panther Party, and so forth and on. And so, like I said, and also those that's caught up in the Kemetic Afrocentric teachings, especially of Egyptology, like teachings and all that other stuff. It's nothing but feel good, stuff that's in feel good spirituality talk as well in terms of so-called African culture and all this stuff that really don't pertain to us as dark-skinned descendants of slaves born in America, but it's been just proven to be feel-good talk whenever it's explained or explained in teaching form or whatever. It's nothing but feel-good talk because at the end of the day, it hasn't done nothing to alleviate us completely through separation from our 400-year-old slave master oppressor. And even though we have had certain people in the conscious community who talked about separation or claimed separation as far as teaching about it or whatever, hasn't officially acted on it. And that's especially including the Nation of Islam, which is one organization that has always claimed to be about separation, but never truly acted on it. So, like I said, once again, this leads down to the same road path toward complete extermination of black people in America, or who I preferably call people of soul. And like I said before, it's just crazy when we really think about it, because when you look at the iniquities among us as a people, the corruption among us as a people, this all parallelly keeps us, unfortunately, on that road to a total path of destruction. And, I'm talking about petty differences, because one don't like the other one. We can't agree on the same common denominator that could finally free us all together for once and for all as a people, or because we don't like a certain individual or the way they talk or sound, or because of a disagreement in opinion with them and all this other nonsense. And it's unfortunately increasing among us as it's gearing us toward complete destruction as a people. And even some of us know this to be true, or claim we know this to be true, but still want to continue playing a part in this incorruptible, degenerating behavior toward one another as a people, So when ones, even in the conscious community, say that they understand this, but don't show it in their actions, that leaves one, even as myself, with no choice, but to concede to the fact that the truth is that we are eventually going to be exterminated if we do not come together in time to do something about our situation as a people. Like I say, no one has no respect for us as so-called black people in America, like I shared about in the first part series of this video. And I'm gonna go into more depth. Like I say, when I spoke earlier about how white people could come in our communities and sell drugs in our neighborhood these days without even retribution from black drug dealers. I'm just talking about whether it's positive or negative. I'm just talking about little stuff, even just to throw signs out there of how much people even respect us less today. I got to go into depth to help us understand the reality of this, or why we're heading so much faster to total extermination as a people. I have to, make it clear so that you will hopefully understand the seriousness of what I'm talking about in this part 2 series video concerning this subject. Because many of our people don't understand this, unfortunately. We even have gotten to the point where we have allowed Caucasians to join our organizations that's supposed to be geared towards separation of the Caucasian, or that's supposed to be geared toward pro-blackism and pro-black liberation and all this from the Caucasian, but yet you let them join our organizations, such as the Nation of Islam, which is known literally to have Caucasian Europeans as official registered members in their organization, in which even their most renowned popular leader from within the branches of that organization, Louis Farrakhan, admitted on national TV. And we have him on social media videos and even YouTube videos showing where he admitted on national television that his organization, called the Nation of Islam, has accepted white people in that organization as members. Something that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who was one of the original leaders of that organization, would have forbidden during his time in leadership of that organization, and honestly would not appreciate today from watching from his grave. So like I said, uh, you know, this is crazy. You know, I mean, I'm just going into stuff. Like I say, it may sound trivial, but in actuality, it's the truth of reality. That's why I'm using these little considered uh insignificant things to point out as examples to show how far and degenerately we have went low as a people in this country, which signifies the direction that we're headed in, far as our extermination altogether is concerned. That's just like you got these gangs like the Vice Lords, the Black Gangster Disciples, which was originally founded on the principles of us being liberated as a people, but revolve more into just a regular street gang, which they are now. But anyway, now whites could join them organizations or street organizations, unlike us as blacks who are not even allowed to join white supremacist gang organizations, whether it's on the streets or in the penitentiary. But they could join our, entities such of that nature. How did it go that far? How did it get to that point? And like I said, this may seem negative, but I'm using this as a point of example. So look at the point of example that I'm using in all this by separating the negative aspect of it and just looking at the point that I'm making as an example and what I'm saying, because it all basically ties in together to the reality of how low and degenerate we became as a people, where you have more, and I mean, to be honest with you, uh, yes, different cultures have mixed over time and still do now. But unfortunately, the truth of the matter is, you know, I mean, to say that it will be okay for a dark skinned person to mix with a white Caucasian person in terms of having interracial mixing relations going with each other is something that's not natural. as far as in this situation here in America being concerned, because we were forced in this situation. So that's a big difference. And with that said, uh, you know, it's not like we are in another country dealing with another people that did not force us in this situation. So if we was to get involved with another people like that in another country, it would be different because it's nothing like the experience that we've endured as a people in America. So this is why interracial relations in terms of interracial mixing is a problem in America. Okay. And it has destroyed countless and countless of black families in this country, and including my own personal biological family, which I've seen over time from experience and in general. So like I said, it's it all plays a part in leading down the same road path parallelly to our total demise in terms of us being exterminated as a people. I mean, we can't even get along as families because of that type of stuff. Well, there's other issues that plague us as families, which of course is a holdover from chattel slavery. Like I said, which again is the root of it because that was a forced situation upon us. But so all this trickling down leads to the same road of our total extermination as a people, because we're not doing nothing to intervene in preventing this destruction of total extermination from coming our way as a people. And this is why I am, proceeding as I'm doing right now to clearly help you more specifically understand what I'm saying by going into more in-depth specifics, or rather specifics about what I'm speaking about. Because a lot of our people speak, but they don't go in depth into specifics to help our people understand why we are in this type of condition, and why we're headed toward full-blown total extermination. Long as we keep feeding into aborting our babies, and by the way, by not using our head, instead of having these going to sleep together, having these babies, behind a closed bedroom door, I mean, not thinking about the circumstances that's going to come behind having these babies, especially if you're not ready to take care of a child. See, this is what I'm talking about. That's just one example of me going into specifics on what leads this toward trapping us up, which again leads to the role of us being totally destroyed as a people. So it all leads down toward the same road path, is what I'm saying. And I mean, at the end of the day, we have to understand this, fact. And if we do not wake up, we will in fact be totally exterminated. And I want to throw in there again, them FEMA camps they got set up around the United States and the mass graves that they got set up that they also plan on dumping us in at any given right time of opportunity, especially due to the climate of events taking place in this country that may cause this country to be put in a tight situation where they will resort to carrying out, executive orders like martial law, which will, constitute them to doing just that by hauling us off the FEMA camps and mass graves. I mean, this is reality, and just because you hear it coming from Caucasians, do not make it untrue. I mean, it's facts. And it's essential points in it that actually, produce facts that this is a reality that awaits us as a people. So whether it's coming from a dark-skinned person or a Caucasian, it don't make no difference. Truth is truth. And I mean, especially to those of you in the conscious community that say that the white man, who's supposed to be the devil with two horns sticking out their head, can't never tell the truth. Well, okay. I mean, hey, if you want to keep still, believing in those fantasy fairy tale narratives, well then be my guest. You know what I'm saying? Because first of all, 99%, if not 100% of the stuff that we have been taught or even know about, even in terms dealing with our own existence as a group of people in this country, came from the Caucasian slave master. See, this is what we fail to realize. This is why Black people in this country have always been seeking, search, and find a way, regardless of even believing in some type of religion or spirituality form of teaching, because we still don't really know so we keep seeking and searching, and being forced into slavery as captives has led to this. Remember, we were stripped of everything in terms of knowledge of self, right? So what make us think that we know what we know when we got all of what we know from the Caucasian? See, I mean, just think about that. And then that will lead to eventually two and two being put together. Because if they stripped us of all the knowledge that we had prior to being put into slavery, then how do we know anything that we claim to believe or think that we know to be true is true? But we know one thing that's true, that we are in a slave-like condition and that we must come together, coming collectively with our best of resources of what we know tangibly that can get us up out of this hellhole called servitude slavery, well as mental slavery and emotional slavery, which has kept us trapped as a people for over 400 years, which we still drowning while we're trying to swim to find our way. You see what I'm saying? At the same time, while we swimming, we drowning. And that's what the situation we are in, like we've been for nearly 500 years, since our ancestors was forced into the situation, which has effectively been passed on down to us as generations to this present day. So, like I say once again, what we think we know ain't necessarily true, because whatever we know in the same breath came from the Caucasian. But we could take what we learned, even in terms from the Caucasian, and take what we could use that could benefit us and what can't benefit us, throw it to the side like garbage. You know, simple as that. Because that's all we got to work with as a people. You know, far as us as dark-skinned descendants of slaves born in America. You know, remember, we were stripped of our culture and everything we knew when we was forced into this slave-like condition. You know, almost 500 years ago. So, like I said, we could only use what we could work with at this point. And being that we're not, you know, showing a concentrated, you know, swifter effort to work toward what we need to achieve to become a totally liberated people, this is going to lead to our mass extermination, as we could see in the direction of where we're actually headed into, whether we want to realize it or not, or whether we realize it or not. But the choice is up to us all as individuals and a group as a whole. The choice is up to us. Do we really want to be free of all this oppression for over 400 years that we've already been under as a people in this country, in a slave-like condition that we're still in as a people in this country? So, I mean, you know, take your own choice, make your own choices, and just, you know, put two glasses on the table and look at the clean glass and look at the dirty glass. And, you know, simply choose which glass you want to drink from. That's all it boils down to. Because, you know, we drank from the dirty glass. We know what we're going to continue seeing as a people in terms of our existence in this country as a dark-skinned descendants of slaves born in America. So, I mean, we could keep playing with the ideal freedom and true liberation long as we want to, and we'll see that day when they start dumping us off in these mass graves. And hopefully I won't be alive or around to see it happen. It may even happen in our future generations, but I don't want to be around, period, whenever it happens, because that's how serious this is. So like I said, we can keep playing with this all we want to. And I've had people on social media or that I've met through social media tell me, that you can't take things serious all the time. Listen, check this out. It's only to a very short extent, that I may could agree with something like that. But 90 some percent of the time in the state of where we at as black people in America, who I choose to call people of soul, a name that was given to us by us and not by our slave masters or anyone else. I have to say again that 90% of the time, I cannot even accept, far as 90 some percent of the time, that you simply cannot take everything serious. I can't accept that. Not in the state that we are in as a people. That's just that serious. I bet you wouldn't tell them people that in Syria that had to flee for their lives as their population was being wiped out in that country. Almost don't nobody live in Syria. For those of you that paid attention to what went on in Syria, for over the last 8 years, almost leading to 10 years, you know, and as a result, millions of people have vacated that country or evacuated that country. So I mean, unless they want to stay there and be exterminated, I mean, you can't tell them that you shouldn't take everything serious. So therefore, us as dark-skinned descendants of slaves born in America, you shouldn't be able to tell any of us that as well. And especially considering the fact that, as opposed to the people of Syria, they were in their own country independently. We don't even got the luxury to even say that. So as far as saying that one or ones in general shouldn't take things so serious at this time and point, and for this time and point, I can't agree with that. I just can't agree with that. It's too serious. Life is so hard and too serious for us as a people in this country, for me to even just sit up and be receptive to that. And when you look at the conditions of our younger people, especially the ones that were born in the 90s and early 2000s, that just, I mean, it's crazy. Kids having kids, probably 10 years older than their own child. Stuff like that. I mean, not saying that it started with this generation, but it's becoming more increasingly that's a fact of life, even among us as a people of of soul called this dark-skinned descendants of slaves born in America. So like I said, this is a reality. You have you have people among us in this country that would never even know, let alone who their mother and fathers are, like I spoke about in the other part one series of this topic video, but that would never even know who they immediate grandmother or grandfather is because of the black family structure in America being so divided, which of course has a lot to do with mass incarceration under this racist system in this country, So like I said, at the same time, we have to understand and realize what we're dealing with seriously as a people. That's why I don't mind going into specifics, See, I go into specifics about this. I don't know about nobody else, even on this platform, but I'm a free thinker, just like everybody else on this platform is, called Operation Exodus Mississippi, as well as Reality Temple Ministries. We're all free thinkers, okay? And I choose to go into specifics. Speaking on myself, I choose to go into specifics about our condition to help our people understand. Not saying that other people's efforts, especially on this platform, is not just as equally helpful in bringing our people's awareness to the state of condition that we are in as a people, in terms of the slave-like condition that we've been finding ourselves in for over 400 years. But my choice, coming directly from my words, is that I like to go into specifics sometimes in these videos to help us understand what's really going on with us, because we need to really understand and know this in order even to deal with our situation. Is why we got to commonly come together collectively. That's why it's so important that we come together on a common collective basis, so we can carve out how we could put certain ideals together that's going to bring this ideal Operation Exodus Mississippi up off the ground to where we could control the politics of a state, which is Mississippi in this case, that it will benefit us all entirely as dark-skinned descendants of slaves born in America. And then once the world see, and once we see that this ideal is successful in Mississippi, we can move on to Alabama and Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, wherever is larger concentrations of our people at, to make this ideal become more progressive in the numbers of our people, in terms of us being or having more leverage in liberating ourselves for once and for all from my over 400-year-old slave oppressor. And so, like I said before, we have to understand this. The reason Operation Exodus Mississippi was established as a platform because of all these other ideologies that failed us as a people, whether it was coming from the construct of religion or from the construct of Kemetic teachings, Egyptology, so-called black or pro-black Afrocentric teachings, which ain't done nothing for us. If anything, but led us more into deeper ignorance, even than Christianity did. Let truth be told, And so, like I said before, it's really a reality of what we need to understand and know clearly of what we got to do to overcome our situation as it presently is for us as a people in this country, unless we want to die totally as a destroyed people through the process of extermination. I mean, so hey, we got to understand and remember that. And by the way, we are in the position, for those of you who don't think we could be placed back on the plantation by massa, even to the point of being forced to get in the fields to go to picking cotton or whatever they had our people picking out in the fields back during chattel slavery. Don't think it can't happen again. For those of you who believe otherwise, you are far from reality. That can happen again. Especially at a right given time of opportunity. That can happen again, But I mean, keep remaining in fairy tale land, and you will see. You will see. I guarantee you that. I mean, just think about it. Look at all these polices killing our people. And even the fact that it's shown that they had improbable cause in doing it. But yet, do you see any of them in 99% of the cases getting prosecuted for it or ending up with prison time over it? That's just a good prime example right there to show you that these Caucasian racists could do anything they want to do to us. And it ain't a damn thing, nothing is going to be done about it. It ain't a damn thing that anything is going to be done about it. So like I say, keep on wishing and thinking this fairy tale stuff that you believing in, that this or that can't happen against to us and this and that. Oh, keep believing that. Like they said, if you don't pay attention to know and understand history, it could be repeated again. So once again, I mean, keep playing with fire and watch how fast it consumes you. That's all I got to say about that. I mean, this is no game. This is for real. You know, it's for real. And matter of fact, especially because Negroes usually don't believe nothing unless the Caucasian tell it. Well, like I say, go on the Infowar website that Alex Jones has, cause all that stuff on there ain't no lie. And like I said in the other video, I'm not no fan of Alex Jones, but I know how to discern truth, the difference between truth and fairy taleism. But go on his page and check some of that stuff out. Go on Jesse Ventura's YouTube page. Go on Ryan Paul's who's that former politician, Paul Ryan or Ryan Paul, whatever. Go on his page, his YouTube page, and check out some stuff. Oh man, these white folks know more stuff about what's going on with this country than us as dark-skinned descendants of slaves have or will ever know. You know, but because they're racist, especially those of you in the black conscious community, don't care to pay attention to it because they are racist. They the devil. They can't tell the truth. Okay. Well, you know, like I said before, it is what it is. Huh. You know, and what make it worse is that these so-called black leaders we got ain't doing nothing but selling our people a bunch of dream wolf tickets. Dream wolf tickets, like with the Million Man March. And once again, I'm a piggyback off something that was said, you know, by our administrator, Brother Talik of Reality Temple Ministries. I'm gonna reiterate something he said regarding Louis Farrakhan. If Farrakhan was really at odds with the Jews, and the Jews was at odds with him, and if he was really at odds with the government of this nation, and the government of this nation was really at odds with him, think about it. Why would they allow him permits to go to Washington and stand on the steps of the Capitol or the Lincoln Rotunda and give Million March speeches which starts dating back from 1995, from the first Million Man March, where he collected millions upon millions of dollars, which the Nation of Islam, under his leadership, has nothing to show for in terms of building, which is supposed to be about the true teachings, or which is supposed to be about carrying out the true teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You know, something that at least Marvin Muhammad in the new Nation of Islam, which he's the leader of, is doing. And they don't even come, like I say, near half of that much money that Farrakhan and his organization obtained over the years, through millions of dollars being donated at the marches, along with other donations they've gotten over time as an organization. But yet, once again, ain't got nothing to show for it. You know, in terms of so-called black progress in this country. You know, and another thing too, which you people fail to realize, especially those of you who support Louis Farrakhan. Like I said before, if he was such a threat, why would they even give him permits to hold these big, massive speaking engagement rallies, like with the Million Man or Million More movement marches, or the so-called Justice or Else march. Why would they give him permits? Just think about that. If he was truly a threat to the so-called white establishment of this country, why would they let him travel around the world? Why would they allow him a passport to go out the country to travel around the world, going to countries at the time, like during his World Friendship Tour, when he was able to go to countries that was considered as opposing enemies of the United States, like Muammar Gaddafi's Libya, like Fidel Castro's Cuba, okay? Like Saddam Hussein's Iraq during that time when he went to visit them Pacific countries as well, along other countries that he went to. These countries were considered, oh, by the way, recently he just went to visit Iran, where he was involved in a press conference speaking engagement. Iran is considered, you ain't thinking about this now. Iran is considered as a top number one enemy of the United States, right? Matter of fact, those are among the countries where citizens can't even come to the United States. Those are among the banned countries that can't even enter the United States. Again, I repeat, Iran is among the 7 banned countries that is not allowed to come to the United States under this present Donald Trump administration, okay? But somebody like Louis Farrakhan could go to Iran, right? What is he even doing going to Iran for? Especially as a unquote black Muslim in this country. But he's allowed to go to an Islamic Muslim country like Iran, a country that the late grandson of Malcolm X, was denied being able to use a passport to go to when he tried to attempt to go to Iran because of some type of conference he was invited to go to there at the time before his untimely assassination death that took place in Mexico. I mean, think about this now. So if Louis Farrakhan was a threat to this white establishment or Jews that control most of the stuff in this country, especially as far as media is concerned, why would Farrakhan be able to get these free passes like he's getting from the unquote, from those that you say is his enemies? You see? I mean, people, wake up. Wake up and smell the coffee. Stop, even like Malcolm X himself said, stand for something and just stop falling for anything, I mean, this is real. No wonder why our people are headed to extermination. No wonder why we as a people is headed into the direction of complete extermination. Because this is real. Because we're not standing for anything worthy to stand for, but we're falling for anything. And that's just the reality of it. And with that said, because it's getting late, need to get some rest. And, you know, and stuff. And for those of you listening in the comment section or in the rest of YouTube land or throughout social media, especially on Facebook or stuff like that, I send you my shout outs. And hey, I just thought I need to go more in depth into specifics in this video. And I hope you gain some understanding from this, because this needs to be heard. And once again, before I close out, I have to, salute Brother Marvin Muhammad, aka Son of Man of the New Nation of Islam, and his followers for doing the work that they're doing to build, to carve out, in their own right, the best existence that they can for themselves as dark-skinned descendants of slaves born in America. Something that the Nation of Islam under Louis Farrakhan is not doing, obviously, and that other branches in the Nation of Islam is not doing. I mean, facts are facts. I mean, like I say, Marvin Muhammad and the New Nation of Islam got a YouTube channel exclusive geared towards showing videos about their building progress. It specifically goes into their building and what they're doing to be successful in their building, which, makes them stick out like a sore thumb, because they are actually doing the best they can to carry out the true teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, which is about doing for self. And they're doing for self by building. So, like I say, go to the New Nation of Islam YouTube page, which, one of their pages, which is geared towards showing how much progress they're making in terms of building. So, like I say, with that, once again, headedly, headed into my closing, I would like to give my shout outs again. And also, I would like to give my shout outs to Brother Talik, Sister Rashida Strober, Brother Gary, and also Brother Daniel. And from here on, I would give the salutations that we always give from this platform, and our video closeouts. I will give the salutation of peace.